Welcome, everybody, to day 4 of FM Tech Week 2025. I'm Ed Buckley, and on behalf of the information technology community of IFMA, once again, I want to thank each of you for joining us for this unique virtual symposium. Let's move on to today's session. I'm super excited about today. This is all about unlocking facility intelligence, and Regina Ottaviano and Derek Luchko are going to take us through GIS and digital twins in action. Derek has been a leader in private industry and AEC for over 15 years and absolutely loves using GIS to solve problems. His experience in this area includes strategy development, spatial analysis, data integration, and custom solution development and system administration. And Regina is a GIS analyst and graduate of the University of New Hampshire, who studied environmental conservation and sustainability whilst also falling in love with GIS. I need to introduce you to my daughter. She did very, very similar. She's well versed in GIS workflows related to data collection, migration, and analysis as it relates to 3D and indoor GIS systems. So I'm going to hand over to Derek now, and looking forward to hearing the presentation.
All right. Thanks, Ed. I really appreciate the intro. And I just want to say thank you to you, IFMA, to the IT community. We're always really involved. We think it's a great community to share ideas, and we're proud to make our contribution here. I know you've had a great slate of presentations. There are some more coming up, so I encourage you to seek those out, or when they do get published, just a lot of good content there. And happy to have Regina present with me. She's going to help me through the presentation. There is another face on the screen who is not a talking head here, but that's Chris Lorraine. Had kind of a last minute prior engagement that prevented him from being here. I assure you he would rather be here representing Lantec is his company, but he has unplanned dental work, so not so good. Anyway, so as Ed mentioned, lots of good sessions. For those of you who have listened to the other presentations around technology advancements, around artificial intelligence, I think our presentation serves as a nice backstop to that. Today, we're going to dive into how GIS and digital twins are transforming facility operations from planning, maintenance to safety and sustainability. We're going to walk through some real examples, and we're going to show how these technologies can bring your buildings to life, room by room, system by system. So let me just take a minute. We'll do one slide on the who we are. If you're not familiar with Lantec, we've been around for 35 years. We're an Esri partner, and we hold an indoor GIS specialty. And while we provide a variety of services within engineering and the land survey space, today we're going to focus on our digital twin capabilities. Throughout our history, Lantec has embraced new technologies, and we're always seeking to advance what's possible. We help organizations understand the spaces they manage, whether it's underground utilities or interior spaces like classrooms. We turn the built environment into living data. And we do that using advanced surveying, reality capture, and GIS to build intelligent systems that support smarter operations and better decision making. And this applies to just about any industry, right? We work with schools, with campuses, we work with complex facilities like airports and water utilities. We work with local government. The beauty of what you'll see here and the work that we do is that the technology knows no bounds in the sense of an industry or an application. And that to me is very exciting. All right, so before we dive into some of the, seeing it in action, right? Most of you probably have some idea, some of you maybe don't, but we always like to start off with what is a digital twin? And that word does mean different things to different people. The way we try to succinctly talk about it is it's a dynamic geospatial model of your facility. It's a structured model, it's connected, it's kept up to date. It reflects the real world in real time, and it integrates data from sensors, system, and staff. And we like to think about it in general, and I want you to think about it during this presentation as a foundation, right? It's like a canvas, a blank canvas where tools and insights and actions can come together all in one place. And we're not going to dive into technical specifics about all the different applications and approaches and methods today. But I do love to talk shop. So if any of you guys, want to do that, you have an open invitation to reach out to me. You'll get my contact info. I'm always happy to dive into the technical details. Um, but let me say, right, there's no single digital twin platform. There's many options. I've even heard people call a really good Excel spreadsheet a digital twin. I think that's a little bit of a stretch, and we can do better than that. But there are options. As GIS professionals here and as Esri partners, a lot of what you're going to see from us today and the examples and demos leverage GIS technology. And you'll hear about why we do that. Um, but we often build those digital twin foundations, right? That foundational level upon which we build up. We use tools like ArcGIS Indoors and 3D GIS scenes, built on BIM to GIS workflows. A new era of spaces, right? Today, spaces aren't static. They're dynamic, responsive, and data rich. Maybe that's not a totally new era, right? Facilities have long been dynamic places and dynamic spaces, but I think the difference and where we're going with this slide here is that we kind of stand at this moment in this intersection where there is this driving need for efficiencies and sustainability, visibility into the operation, and the technology to support serve and meet those needs is here, right? It hasn't always been here, but it's advanced a lot recently, and it's an exciting place to be. And when we use GIS as the common thread, all of those spaces, every square foot of your facility, right, becomes understandable. It becomes interactive, whether that's your HVAC system or whether it's understanding student foot traffic, right? Or where your fire extinguishers are, or what the emergency route is to get out of your facilities in the event of an emergency. GIS is kind of that underpinning, and you're going to see that in action today. And we'll do a little more level setting here. I'm going to assume a lot of people have an idea of what GIS is, but I know in my day to day, when people ask me what I do, what's GIS? So let's just talk a little bit about the evolution of GIS, right? Um, Traditionally and historically, it's been more of an outdoors type of thing, right? It's a mapping tool, it's an analysis tool, but a lot of the features and information and data were typically kind of outdoors, right? Whether that be road networks, parcels, land use, watersheds, utilities, pipe networks, that sort of thing. What's relatively new and exciting, and something that we have been involved with since this technology has been out for the last 6 years or so, is indoor GIS, right? Um, and really, what indoor GIS is all the goodness and all of the capabilities and benefits that GIS has evolved over time have now been moved indoors, right? And we spend a lot of time indoors. We keep a lot of things indoors. We do a lot indoors. I like to be outdoors. I know Regina does, but like we do spend a lot of time. Most people do. So there's really this whole new world to map the indoors, right? And people are doing this. This type of work is happening all over for all different types of reasons. At Landtech, we're well positioned with expertise and the capabilities to do reality capture, right? So, like laser scanning an entire facility or a campus, and creating 3D models from those point clouds or other derivative products that might be of concern that a client wants. And then we use that data to create 3D features that serve as the foundation, as the operating system that allows for the integration of other IT systems. Real-time data and kind of this streamlined user experience that is much better for operations and management. GIS really allows us to bridge the physical world with the underlying connectivity, the relationships, and the spatial context that matters. And this reveals how spaces work, how our facilities operate, how we can improve them and manage them better, which is all valuable stuff and what people really want now. So that's kind of, that ends sort of the background, right, of who's Line Tech, what's a digital twin, why are we using GIS? Why do we see that as a good foundation? One of the options, but a good foundation to bring this together and set that foundation for a digital twin. Now we're going to jump into seeing it in action, right? And so I'll take you through some examples. We'll depart from the slides for a little bit and do a little bit of a live demo to show you some of those examples, and then we'll get back in and kind of wrap it up with some closing thoughts on it. So we'll start here. We see a lot of activity in the education space, whether it be K through 12 or higher education. But a lot of what we're talking about in this space is applicable to corporate campuses, to local government facilities, to airports. We've worked with airports before, doing the same type of thing for the same types of reasons. It's just a different facility, a different industry. But we'll talk about schools here, right? Imagine a university campus, acres upon acres of land, sometimes the big ones, right? Hundreds of buildings, millions of square feet of indoor spaces. And these facilities, the space is a limited resource. So every bit of deeper understanding allows for additional value, whether that's direct value to your bottom line or indirect through other means. And GIS helps you enable those insights in whatever realm is important to you, right? Whether you're in operations, whether you're in admissions, whether you're in ticketing, right? Your needs can be addressed using the tools and capabilities that these digital twins are built upon. They've got that kind of flexibility there. In this instance, smarter schools, right? With your digital twin, you can instantly locate any Wi-Fi router, any AED, any fire extinguisher, and learn a lot about it, right? Maybe about that asset, what model it is, what year was installed, what the most recent reading is, or the current status, the last inspection date, right? All at your fingertips. And with GIS as the backbone there, staff can route between buildings, right? If you develop a routing network for wayfinding, you see that over here in the bottom right corner, right? We've got a school here and we're looking for directions from, room 010 to B207, right? And that's going to take you multiple levels in 3D. You can see those directions, and with something called an indoor positioning system, you can even get that blue dot representation on where you are in that building to help you navigate. And that can be very helpful in complex areas. And it can be used for all sorts of things, right? Like maintenance teams, they're going out to do maintenance activities on assets. They might not know exactly where it is, either because that information isn't readily available. Maybe they're new. Maybe they're filling in for somebody. They've got a lot of facilities to cover. You've got these tools that now make that experience easier, simpler. You're spending less time trying to find what you need, and you cut right to getting the work done. So you're spending your time better. And another thing that on like the routing that I think is really interesting is you can have them take into account current construction or maybe accessibility, right? Finding accessible routes, right? That those that have certain accessibility needs right, are concerned about when they're getting around on campus or, around your town, that sort of thing. And when you look at this through the lens of K through 12 schools, right, these tools can help keep the floor plans current, keep their assets tracked, and emergency teams informed. Another way that we can build on and see these digital twins in action is, giving your building a voice, right? You've got this facility, it's got a lot to say, right? And they're full of untapped information. I'd be hard pressed to find people that don't have smart sensors in their homes or in their facilities. And if you don't, it's not hard to get those in and leverage them, right? And those types of sensors unlock that voice, right? Unlock that data that can feed your digital twin and add more value to it, right? You can get occupancy data and it can reveal rooms that are crowded, rooms that are underused, areas where maybe you can reallocate activities or room assignments, right, to get more out of your space. Leak detectors can alert you as soon as water is detected, right? If you've got a server room, right? Or, I mean, any room, right? That's a problem, right? And if it goes undetected over a long weekend and you don't find out until you're back in the office on Tuesday, I mean, that damage starts to tick up and tick up and tick up, right? Whereas if you're alerted right away, um, you can mitigate that. And you've got temperature, humidity, CO2 sensors. You've got all of these, a wide variety of possibilities. And you see some pictures on the screen. Um, you can incorporate those into your digital twin. And there's different ways to do that, right? There's different approaches. But being able to incorporate that into your digital twin and to see that data come in real time and to store that data historically and do trends against it, right? All of that can tell you the story about your facility or facilities, your portfolio, and help you understand how to improve it, how to better manage it. And these sensors do give your building a voice. This one sort of goes without saying, but it's a really important value add, right? You've got your digital twin, you've got your foundation, and one of the things that you can do with it and should do with it, and is really a big topic of conversation, is emergency response, right? When you've got this GIS-based digital twin, it provides that spatial context. It provides orientation to where things are, floor awareness, where what floor is where and what does that look like? How do you get there? The ability to find your way with turn-by-turn directions or just kind of reviewing the map of the scene. And that, there's a lot of benefits to that on its own, but when you look at it through the context of an emergency, right, and emergency responders, all of those capabilities take on new meaning and new weight, right? Indoor GIS can show you where to go, show you how to get there, what hazards lie ahead, and this applies to any facility, right? We see it a lot in schools and, the unfortunate state of how things are, right? This is really top of mind for a lot of administrators. And having this foundation allows you to use it directly to manage and provide additional insight, or indirectly by an easy way to share up to date and to update your facility data with first responders, right? Who may be using their own systems, right? But the format in which you can manage your own digital twin can operate and coexist and cooperate with those other systems used by local responders. Okay, I'm sure you like 10 slides in, you've probably heard enough of me and our slides. We're gonna take a break from the slide deck. I'm gonna show you a couple of things in a live demo. Regina's gonna hold her breath so that nothing breaks while we go through this. We're gonna start with, an indoor GIS example, right? And the thing I want to show you here is, right, we're going to start from the idea of you're building a foundation. You're building this digital twin. You're bringing your facility data into a system. In this case, it's a GIS system. And you're building that structured model, that digital representation of the real world, right? That's your basis. You've got to do that first before you leverage the benefits of it, right? And so here we've got in ArcGIS Indoors, we've got a um, a school district, right, with a number of different schools, right? And we can access all of these schools, right, in 2D and in 3D, right? And so we can find out information about the schools. We can explore other things, right, like emergency equipment. If we want to find AEDs, we can find them um, and zoom right to where they are. You can just use the search function, right? If you were looking for a specific type of room or place, right? It's just really easy to use, and that's like just table stakes. Being able to go in there and explore your data, right? And then after that, you can build up from it, right? You can um, organize your data and see different metrics about your facilities or your whole portfolio rolled up into one. You can build special tools that allow you to explore your data quickly and easily and answer questions fast. And you can build editing apps that, allow for data quality control to get data directly into your GIS. You could take it further, right, into more complex systems, right, like this water treatment plant. And with some basic tools alone, you get this really immersive look at your facility. And then you can bring all of your systems together in one place. Right here, we've got um, a particular pump and a particular pump station. When we click on it, you see my whole map, my whole dashboard lights up with specific information, right? And interactivity between other systems like your asset management system, your SCADA data is flowing in here. You've got your work orders, all of your active ones, your historic ones. You've got a way to look at them, which ones are overdue and which ones are not, right? So you've got these capabilities to see everything and work with it together in one place. And then you've got live dashboards and sensors, right? We talked about this, and here's kind of a simple demo of our facility. We can look at different levels and see different sensors that we have set up, whether it's the basement and we want to know if there's been a flood, right? That's kind of important. We're looking pretty good. We've got no flood here, right? And what's the humidity kind of in this room, right? Um, we know right now it's at 43. That's good. We had kind of a high humidity problem in there. We can keep track of it. We could see what doors are open or closed in real time, right? We've got motion sensors that tell us, um, whether, rooms are being occupied and people are flowing through. And so you can see these update in near real time and have an idea of what's going on right now. You've also got this event log and this history, right, that allows you to analyze and see trends in your facility, right? So all of that are different ways to get more out of that foundation, to build up upon that foundation. And creativity is really your only barrier to what you can get out of it. See, we're coming up and time's going by fast. Let me jump back in here, right? Because I want to get through a couple other points before we get to the very end. In addition to those kind of live demo pieces I showed, we've got a lot of mobile capabilities that allow for very simple data collection that goes right in and feeds your digital twin, right? And so you've got that connectivity, right? So it takes out a lot of the middleman piece of, taking data from this form and inputting it in another system. Um, on its own, just taking away big paper-based forms is a big win, right? But the fact that you're feeding your digital twin can do it in real time. Anybody with a device can do it, depending on what you're collecting there. It really opens the doors for what's possible and how to scale up, a digital twin deployment. XR, right? You probably heard a little bit about this in previous sessions or elsewhere, right? XR means, it could be virtual reality, could be augmented reality. With that foundation, right, you can use it for these different applications. On one screen, we've got really this like game engine that is using your digital twin, your GIS-based 3D GIS features as the basis to which you can explore a space, right? And so this has got a lot of applications, be it training or orientation or being able to explore and understand facilities you're not local to. And then you've got AR on that screen to the bottom left, where you're in the space, but you can bring your device up and see that digital twin and do all the things you can do on your desktop that you've seen, but see it on your device. You can use it out in the field, um, take measurements, you can interact, click your links that take you to your other systems. It really, again, creates this better experience for the user. And we've got one central system here. It's one interface that brings in the other systems. GIS serves as that powerful enterprise system that connects departments and other systems, right? Where IT can manage their access points, their cablings, facilities can monitor their energy use, their floor occupancy. You can do that all in one place. GIS integrates diverse data. It doesn't care where it comes from. It gives you these abilities to do it, which then makes your digital twin all the better, right? And affords you the ability to understand the spatial relationships and can do spatial analysis around that data. Not just that it's in one place, but what does it mean in the context of everything else? Really, and it brings me to kind of my favorite phrase on this topic, which is system of engagement, right? You get that system of engagement with this type of digital twin based in this GIS system. Two more slides here. I know we're coming up on time. I'm not going to read all this, but I'm just going to reiterate that these digital twins can be a universal lens across the board, right? Whether it's healthcare and you're tracking, hospital beds, or in utilities and you want to monitor real-time flow in your on your discharge pumps, right? Your airports, you want to understand how a baggage claim is operating, right? All of these use cases are possible, right, using digital twins. And that's the most exciting part to me. So thank you. I appreciate it. I know there's only a few minutes left. I don't know if there's any questions or comments that have come in, or if there's any that are kind of worth bringing up. If they are or they go unanswered, we'll certainly get back to you. My contact info is there. Don't let the conversation stop here. We want to talk more about, see where your questions are, see what you're doing. You're probably, some of you, already on your way, but we'd love to hear more. This is our work. This is what we like talking about. Don't hesitate to reach out with questions or comments, or just for some friendly discussion.
Great. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Regina. In that presentation, one of the things I particularly liked was the visual of the technician walking outside, and they can actually see, using augmented reality, the pipework beneath the ground, which kind of reminds me of something we're seeing in the press these days, or very recently, the idea of ambient computing. And it sounds like this is the type of technology that can underpin that. And secondly, in going through today, and I hope the audience agrees that what we're seeing is the technology is coming alive. It wasn't that long ago, if we were talking about digital twins, where we were staring down the face of multi-million-dollar investments and not quite sure what we were going to get from it. But to be able to see that for real, I think is absolutely incredible. So just leaves me to thank you again, Derek. Thanks, Regina, for putting this on for us. And for everybody else, we'll see you a little bit later. And thank you again for joining FM Tech Week 2025. See you a bit later.
Thanks, Ed. Thank you, everybody.